Hi, this is Pratap Singh Gaikwad and welcome to the Buggy Khana Jodhpur edition. So let's move on to the next one.
For sure.
So what have we got over here?
This is a very special Buick, and it's not the regular Buick as we know.
Okay.
This is a McLaughlin Buick. McLaughlin Buicks have been made in Canada, mostly for the British colonies.
Okay.
Okay. The McLaughlin brothers were doing it earlier, then taken over by General Motors.
Right.
They had subtle differences from the American counterpart,
Right.
but used most of their mechanicals and body panels, which is there.
Okay.
She's a 1928.
Okay.
Okay. Incidentally, she's a six-cylinder machine because there was no eight-cylinder, which Buicks are famous for.
Right.
Okay. And the last year was 1930 that they made a six-cylinder and went on to making the eight-cylinder in 1931
Right.
without sharing most of the parts.
Okay.
Why I say so is that, that just somehow highlights the kind of difficulty in restoration.
Got it. Got it. But how many broadly were manufactured and again how many in India?
There is no data about how many were made, McLaughlins were made, but there were far lesser numbers than compared to Americans.
The American one.
You know, a rough guess could be, few hundreds for sure, but I
Right.
really can't say.
Sure.
In India, there are two and a half, I would say,
Okay.
are there.
Right.
Okay.
When you say 2.5, you mean two full cars and one maybe not in good condition? What is it? What are you
Yes,
hinting at?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, coming on to the car, as you see, it's beautifully designed for the day. Okay, smaller detailing like the etchings on the headlights, etc.
Right.
Make it very interesting.
Yeah.
Along with the honeycomb radiator, which was a norm in those days.
Right.
Okay, and the emblem, the Buick goddess, etc. Okay, before you ask me, okay, this is just Buick because it should have been McLaughlin Buick. Okay, I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So I said, at least, let the Buick be a Buick till the time I find it,
So if anyone
somewhere.
comes across a McLaughlin Buick sign,
Please.
they should get a hold of the vendor.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll be thankful.
So good. That would be great if someone actually reached out to you after
Yes,
this.
yes, certainly.
Yeah.
So, as you see, now the car's been done. She runs beautifully.
Right.
Okay. As you were mentioning, about the color. So it's a very unusual color.
Yeah, it's a lovely green, but it's a very different
Yes.
kind of a green.
Yes.
It's,
There's a whole story about this because the car, when came, was a bucket piece.
Right.
It was totally derelict.
right.
And there was no color. Forget about color. Most of the parts weren't there.
Right.
So we started looking in when putting the
Did you
car
have a
together.
build sheet or something like that?
Nothing.
Nothing for
Buicks,
these.
you
They don't have
that.
something
Nothing.
like that.
Nothing. There's very little literature for the
Right.
McLaughlin Buicks.
So the only clue you had for the color was a piece of old paint
Yes.
that was sort of there
Yes.
on the rim somewhere.
Yes. It was right here
Right.
where the filling tube is.
Okay.
Okay. It was just an inch and a half,
Right.
and that's where I knew that this car was originally green.
Okay.
Okay. I had a kind of, it wasn't that it was a dark green.
Right.
Okay. So I knew it was a medium green.
Okay.
And that's where I started looking in. And as I said earlier, I've been fortunate to have some really good friends,
Right.
people who have vast experience, and they really helped me.
Right.
So, but then, this trail green, as it's called, we
Hmm.
couldn't find the formula. I tried everywhere in the world, the Buick
Right.
Alliance, the Buick Club of America, the McLaughlin Club.
Right.
Okay, nobody had it.
Right.
Then after months of pestering, okay, this friend of mine in the US, a very senior gentleman, now retired in his late 80s. So one night he called back and he said, listen, Dave, you were talking about it. I finally found it. It was in Murphy's Lacquer book
Right.
and it was a service code which is there.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank you, God. No, this is what it was needed.
Right.
So he started from there. He formulated the color in nitrocellulose.
Right.
We shifted the values and here's the trail green for you.
It's amazing. So there's another learning also I'm hearing that it's good to have senior friends in this
Absolutely.
space who have got the
Absolutely.
experience and knowledge.
Yes.
Right.
These are the people who have, seen these cars, they worked upon,
Right.
they worked in the company, so they know precisely what it was.
Right.
But this car particularly, Pratap, has been, something which I'll never forget till the time I die.
Labor of love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was, as you see it, when we got the car,
Yes.
okay, the car didn't have the headlamps. Get about the emblems. No windshield.
Right.
No parking lamps. No hood locks. Okay. No door handles.
Right.
Inside out. Okay. No steering wheel on them.
Right.
Okay. The running board was there.
Yeah.
Okay. The fenders were in the car. And as far as the engine is concerned, there was no starter, there was no dynamo, there was no distributor, there was no water pump.
Right.
Okay. And I just didn't know where to begin with. No gauges.
Right.
Okay. No timing controls, ignition controls. Nothing was there.
So a lot of these things you had to manufacture yourself, or how did you? For example, the windscreen.
Yes.
How did you?
Yes. Yes.
How did you get? Did you get a new one?
No. It was impossible to find one. I tried a lot.
Right.
But this is only to 1928. 29 they had a different windshield.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was only for 28.
Right.
So that's where another friend of mine, as I mentioned, down south.
Right.
And he was helpful. Though he didn't give me the windshield to copy, but he gave me the dimensions,
Right.
which were helpful, and then we fabricated it here. Similarly, I kept on finding out, from the car which came in. This car actually originates from a place called Rajbaneli.
Right.
It's a small state near Nepal border. Okay. Bihar-Nepal border.
Right.
So I spoke to the gentleman, the Maharaj Sahib also there, and he remembered the car. And he confirmed the car to be a green car. He said it was a light green, so with black fenders. And so I kept on asking him, I said, "Sir, do you remember the hood, how it was?" He said, "It was a khaki, man." I was like, "Thank you so much."
Okay.
So this is how we carried on.
Right.
You see the tan upholstery, the leather.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now the story was that the friend of mine's car, he spoke about Rexine, the vinyl, okay, which was kind of an oxblood. So I actually ordered the leather in oxblood,
Right.
but then I was never very sure. I said, tomorrow if there is a Buick specialist who comes and asks me, how did you get in?
Yeah.
I would be, speechless.
Yeah,
I
because-
can't tell him that a friend of mine just suggested this.
And that's an interesting point. I just want to interrupt you because cars like these will also always be under some level of scrutiny, right?
They would.
Because there's people are always trying to critique cars like this in a positive way as well.
Absolutely.
So,
And now that the country, our restoration levels have gone very high.
Right.
We are almost at the world standards. International judges are coming in.
Correct.
And they know these cars better than most of us here.
yeah,
So it's better be very sure and prepared as to
Very
what
true.
could come in.
very true.
So that oxblood leather was
Yeah.
on, but I was never very convinced. So I told Churibir about it, and I said, what to do. He said, you take a call. What do you want to do?
Right.
So I spoke to a couple of people in the US, and I said, I'll stick with the tan. So at least not to go wrong.
Right.
with it.
Safer option.
Safer. I mean, tomorrow there's a question, I can at least say that
Yeah.
it's same as the American spec.
Right.
So that's how and where it was done. Whatever you see here, all the controls, it took me long time to procure these.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gauges, the wood finish on them, the correct wood finish, because that also was a matter of discussion
Correct.
as to what grains it should have. So it's not burred as
Yeah.
was generally perceived.
Right.
So the carburetor controls, the steering locks, etc.
Yeah.
Everything, each single thing, the levers, the handles,
Correct.
everything.
No, it's amazing because when you just look at it as a layman, it's such a simple car, right? There's not much. It's not so intricate or anything. It's so simple.
True.
But listening to the story, listening to the process that you went through,
Yes.
I mean, it's really, I mean, you did so much, right, to get it right. That's the whole point behind this.
The essence about restoration is this.
Right.
It has to be correct. How like one of the retailers in America has a USP, do it once, do it right.
Right.
Yeah. So I believe in that. We can't be doing a car again and again.
Correct.
So let's jolly well do it perfect, do our research thoroughly,
Correct.
and stick to it.
Correct.
No matter who says where. So, and there is always a chance of error, because
Of course.
as I said,
Yeah.
nobody is perfect.
Correct.
You keep on listening, keep on, finding out more and more.
Yeah.
So there's always a scope for improvement.
Excellent.
If you notice this dark green,
Yeah.
Okay, trim. This I was unaware of it.
Hmm.
Then one of the guys whom I asked and took advice on the upholstery fabric,
Right.
and he suggested, he says it's going to be the darker color here. So this is how we learned, you know. We
Little snippets of information from various quarters
Yes.
also helps.
yes,
Quick question, I just wanted to go back. It got me thinking. You were able to get in touch with the original owner who did help you with the paint, etc.
yes.
Were you able to share the photo of the finished product with him?
Oh yes, I did.
And-
At that point of time, we were halfway through.
Okay.
He was elated. He was
Yeah.
so happy. He says,
Right.
I can't believe it. You know, I really invited him over. He
Right.
hasn't come as yet.
Yeah.
But I said, please be our guest, you know,
Yeah.
with the family. I
Correct.
said, your car's here. We're just the custodians.
Correct.
And it's a legacy which we all share together.
Absolutely.
You know, he couldn't believe that the car still survives and it's been done, you know.
Yeah. To this level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's and he's a senior gentleman, and he and his cousin remembered the car, remembers the car very, very well.
Wow. That's
So-
precious, you know. I mean,
True.
those are the things that add value.
Exactly,
You know, to
exactly.
This. There's so much substance behind this.
Very true. You know, because as you always say, and I totally agree, that cars in India are is a culture.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like how we were conversing in the day, that
Right.
there is nowhere in the world that anybody gets a car in the family and it goes to Ganpati first, you know, and has a garland on it.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. And if you've noticed, this car has very interesting spoke rims.
Right.
Okay, spoke rims were in infancy; they were just introduced, you know, if you will. And these are called buffalo wheels, which are very sought after.
Okay.
Most of these cars had wooden spoke wheels. Okay,
Right.
which now obviously are a novelty because we don't get to see them
Right.
as over a period of time wood gives away. But in those days, these were new, and these were the thing to have as an extra, which is a place in Buffalo. We
Right.
used to make them.
Okay.
So they're known as buffalo wire wheels,
Got it.
and they are like, you know, really desirable
Great.
comparatively.
Great.
And so that's the Buick, and it's been, you know, a Herculean task. It's been a long thing because the kind of procurement I had to do,
Yeah.
I had to almost buy another car.
Yeah. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. So in Canada to do it,
Yeah.
it was very difficult. Believe you me. You know.
But it's all worth it. It's
End
all
of-
worth it. Look
end
at it.
of the day.
You can feel proud
Yes,
of yourself.
Yes,
I mean, she's
look-
gorgeous.
yes, what beautiful lines, you know. The car has she's got a low stance
Yeah.
to herself, you know, a lovely cowl, well-shaped headlights, the parking lights,
Yeah.
you know,
Gorgeous. She looked stunning driving through the streets of Jodhpur.
to the whole country,
Yeah.
for that matter of
Yeah.
fact, if
Amazing.
there is an event or maybe, you know, to Baroda or to Mumbai, whenever you feel like.
Correct. Yeah.
So we can probably have a buggy khana show where all these cars will be driven
we'll
around
plan
together.
something like that.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that'll be great.